Pennsylvania lottery generated more than $1 billion for programs that benefit older Pennsylvanians. Keep that radio tuned to the Oldies Attic from 9 to noon Saturday mornings for great music.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com, 7:45 in the morning. And so nice of him to take time out of his day and come visit with us. Dr. Nathan Kriger is with us as we look at our weather forecast and we see all these hot temperatures coming and the humidity that we're all dealing with. Our conversation is brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. I mean, the guys there in the ER, and there's people coming in with all kinds of things all year long. But this is a special thing here. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Todd. How are you?
Wonderful. It's good to have you with us again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Summertime issues, especially exacerbated by, we've got 89 coming tomorrow, 90 on Thursday, 93 on Friday. There are some things people can do to protect themselves, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely something to just kind of be mindful of, right? Be aware of on these super hot days that we have coming up. It definitely makes you more susceptible, right, to have some sort of heat-related injury or heat-related problem, such as heat exhaustion or something, much more serious, more life-threatening like heat stroke, that people talk about.
Yeah. And there's a big difference between heat stroke and heat exhaustion.
Right, exactly. I mean, heat exhaustion, I think we see almost fairly commonly, right, which is, you're either working very hard, not keeping up with your hydration. You start to get some mild symptoms of, feeling lightheaded, dizzy, weak, fatigued. Whereas, heat stroke, obviously, life-threatening condition, core body temperature rises. You cannot cool yourself on your own, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are people who are more vulnerable than others.
Correct.
Who are those people who should be especially vigilant about this hot weather?
Right. We extremes of age, right? So the very young, infants, young children, typically like kind of 3 and under, are who we think of on the young end of the spectrum. Their body just doesn't have the ability to cool itself. Then we do think elderly, kind of in that 60 to 65 and up range, and above that, we do think are more susceptible. And it's a combination of age-related factors, maybe other illnesses that they have, maybe certain medications that they're on even that can actually make them more susceptible to a heat-related illness.
Yeah. Okay. So in all of those cases, when they are more vulnerable, they need to be a little bit better prepared probably than others.
For sure.
And you use that word hydration. That's number one, isn't it?
Right. I mean, the best treatment, right, for this is preventative, right? So just don't let yourself get in that position where you might have something like this happen, in that stay hydrated, stay out of the sun, stay out of the heat during those hot parts of the day. So if you want to get something done, right, early morning, late evening, make sure you're taking plenty of breaks, get yourself to a cool environment. Those things will really help, prevent you from getting to this.
And family members and neighbors, they're a big part of this as well, because they're the ones that, if somebody's disoriented, they're the ones that are going to have to notice that and recognize that here's a problem. We need to get this taken care of.
Oh, you're right. I mean, it's definitely a community effort and a family effort, right, to notice that something's going on with someone. I mean, we will see people, I'm sure, over the next few days where the person necessarily didn't think anything was wrong, but their friend, a loved one, will notice that something was up, with them being out in the hot weather, working hard or something.
Yeah. Well, there are people who have to, by the conditions of their job, they have to be out there. I can't imagine working on a roof. But they're, somebody's working on a roof. We see these road construction people around that hot asphalt with the sun beating down on that. And even the flag person is just standing out there under that baking sun all day long. Those folks, they're pros, but even they could be at risk.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it doesn't try and pick on one person, right? It can happen to anyone. If you're not staying hydrated, if you are doing a lot of heavy exertional work in this heat over the next few days, you are susceptible to it just like anyone else is. Whether it's young, old, it could be someone who's, triathlon athlete, right? But if they exert themselves too much over the next couple of days and don't keep up with their hydration and take a break, it can still happen.
We heard a report yesterday that said, the number one solution when someone is suffering from heat-related problems isn't to pour water into them. Pouring water into them not nearly as important as getting that body temperature down. So what are some of the things that we could be thinking about being prepared for, or things to do when somebody is obviously suffering?
So things that I would say, I do think hydration is a big will make a big difference, right? So whether that's water or that's sport drinks like Gatorade, Powerade, or anything akin to that, okay, would be helpful because they do contain electrolytes. And then honestly, the next thing would just be getting them to stop whatever activity they're doing, get them to a cool place, all right? And then if you have the ability, right, then the next best thing to do would almost be to get you either some towels and cool water or something like that, cover yourself in that, and blow a fan on you, right? Those are things that you can do pretty quickly in most environments, right? Whether you're at home or at a work site, to try and cool yourself down fairly quickly.
Yeah, the body loses fluids so quickly, and the antifreeze inside our body is not up to par to handle some of these things. And alcohol can be something that exacerbates everything, right?
You're exactly right. And it's one of those things where I think, a lot of people do relate to, well, I was doing a lot of yard work today, catching up on some housework, whatever it might be. And, maybe they do want a couple alcoholic beverages, right? They're cool, they feel good. But you're right, alcohol will dehydrate you quicker, right, than a normal drink or a sports drink.
Okay. So at the ER, at IRMC, when people come in and they're presenting in certain situations that obviously you can tell right away, this is a heat thing here, you're going to do the things that you just recommended to find a way to cool off that body core temperature and things of that nature, maybe some IV fluids.
Absolutely.
Pretty well spring into action as soon as you see someone coming in, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because you want to get ahead of it, right? This person's already behind in terms of their hydration status, their ability to cool themselves on their own. So we do need to act quickly and kind of enact some of those things you just mentioned to start getting the process, allowing the body to cool itself back down so it can operate appropriately.
Dr. Nathan Kriger with us this morning. We hear about this with triathletes a lot. Their body starts to shut down. This organ or that. Kidneys, I think, are one that is at risk, even brain. In those situations, it can turn pretty dire pretty quick.
It can. We do see people sometimes go into something called rhabdomyolysis, which ultimately leads down to a breakdown of your muscles. Okay, and you're exactly right, Todd. It can lead to renal failure, right, or kidney failure if that's not taken care of appropriately. Okay, but luckily we are able to manage that in the emergency department and subsequently in the hospital to kind of monitor that and make sure things improve.
That can be a long-term recovery, though, can't it?
It can be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Some other things that we deal with in the summertime, and in this particular summer, Canadian smoke from the Canadian wildfires. It might be maple flavored, yes, but it's still dangerous to breathe for people who have breathing difficulty. People with asthma, people who have smoking related breathing issues. Dealing with that. I don't know that you've had to deal with that at IRMC. Maybe you've had to, but obviously it's something that's a concern, or they wouldn't put out these red level warnings, would they? Right.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, those warnings are there for a reason. And it's been studied before, too, that in general, people with underlying lung issues, okay, they do better in an environment where the air is cleaner, essentially. So when we go through these days with the wildfires and the smoke and everything, it does make it harder on those people that may have some underlying lung condition.
Yeah, yeah. So that's something else to add to the list.
I know, right? Another thing to worry about.
Yeah, the summertime list. And even as we speak, there is a search going on, a water search rescue in Armstrong County. Some Indiana County firefighting teams are there right now. Drowning is certainly something that we hear more of in the summertime, and keeping the kids always monitored around bodies of water like swimming pools and things. That's very important. If you find somebody, and I'm thinking particularly of a child, in trouble in the water, and they obviously have taken in a lot and they're not conscious, what should we be doing? What are the steps to take there?
I mean, obviously, immediately 911, right? I mean, we want people that are trained. We want the specialists there. If it is a life-threatening condition at that point, we do want them there to enact their training, right, and try and save their life, right? Mm-hmm. If they're not breathing appropriately, all the ambulances services, Citizens Ambulance Services, has the ability to be able to provide oxygen to them and advanced airway mechanisms, right, to protect their lungs as well, until we can kind of stabilize them, get them to the ER, right, and then further provide life-saving measures.
Yeah, okay. So be patient and wait for them to come. And I think something that is a little bit underrated is make sure that, as you're waiting for that ambulance to arrive, that they'll have a clear path as soon as they get there,
Right.
And even to the point of carrying the child out or whoever it happens to be out to a place where it's easier to get to them.
Absolutely.
Time is of the essence there.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So all of these different summertime issues, and we're still dealing with poison ivy and bee bites.
Yeah. Summer's supposed to be a fun time. It doesn't sound so fun right now.
Yeah, I know. My goodness. But right now we're mostly concerned with the heat, and so we need to be very, very careful. Hey, thanks so much for coming in today. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Anytime, Todd. Thank you.
Folks, and the ER is always there if needed, and urgent care is also an option for folks if it's not as serious a situation, but especially when it comes to that poison ivy.
Yeah, right.
You want to come in for that as well. Have a lovely day today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, you too.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Yes, indeed, we're on the way to 81 today, but then tomorrow is 89, then 90 on Thursday, 93 on Friday. Stay cool. It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS. Fox News coming up next, top of the hour. Then Josh Whittison is in our WCCS newsroom.
Wave hello to this goodbye from Del Grosso's in Laguna Splash. Clip and bring the park coupon from the back of any original Del Grosso sauce jar, and you'll save $5 off an all-day fun pass in June, July, and August. Drop on in for rides and slides